Okay, so today our topic is do while loops. Good. So, as guys, you know that most of programs include some actions that is repeated a number of times. Okay, so that portion of a program, actually a portion of a program that repeats a statement or group of statement is called a loop. The C++ language has a number of ways to create loops. So one of these construction is called do while loops. So just before this lecture, we have discussed and learned about the while loop, which was the one type of the constructs, and this is the second type of the construct, the loop, which is known as do while loop. We will illustrate this through examples and through flowchart and explain how do while actually works. So a loop, actually a while loop, in our previous lecture you have seen that a while loop might execute its loop body 0 times, which is often what you want. If on the other hand, you know that under all circumstances your loop body should be executed at least one time, then you use a do while statement. So a do while statement is actually similar to a while statement, except that the loop body is always executed at least once. So here you guys noticed that in this from this flowchart, the loop will always execute the action at least once, irrespective of the condition. So condition will check after the execution of the action performed. So this action may be a single line statement or maybe multi-line statements enclosed in the curly braces. So first the body will be executed and then the condition will be checked. Okay, in the while loop, we have seen that first condition is checked, first here condition is checked, and then the body of the while loop is executed as per the answer of the condition. Here, if the condition becomes true, so the body will again execute. Otherwise, the body will not be executed and the control will jump out of the do while body. Okay guys, so the syntax of the do while loop is, first you have to write the do, which is a reserve word in the C++ language, similarly in C language, and there are many other languages that support the same syntax. And then you need to write some actionable statements here. So that can be single statement, single, or there can be multi-line statements that can be included here after do with curly, open curly braces and closing curly braces. Okay, then while should be written, WHILE, and then there is a parenthesis. You can see opening and closing parenthesis, and inside this parenthesis you need to write the conditional statement, the conditional expression. Okay, that expression will result in true or false. So whenever the condition becomes true, the body will again, it means that the action will again execute. Otherwise, if the condition give result f false, so the execution will jump out of the while loop and while loop will be terminated. Okay, so you can see here the action will be executed in any case, irrespective of the condition, that it condition become false or true, but action will be performed. Then the condition, if the condition is true, then execute action again. It means execute the body again. Repeat this process until condition evaluates to false. So when the condition become false, the while loop, the do while loop will terminate. Remember again that here you can see here that the action is either a single line statement or a group of statement within curly braces. Be remember. So this was the syntax, and this is the flow chart of the while loop, do while loop. Sorry. And the difference you have already seen that what is the difference in between the while loop and do while loop. So while loop will always check the condition first and then the body will be executed. And in do while, the body will execute first and then the condition will be checked. And if condition becomes true, the body will again execute. So in do while loop, the action will be performed at least once. Okay. In do while loop, the action, the body will be executed at least once, irrespective of the condition, the answer of the condition. While in while loop, it is not necessary that the body may execute first, because the body, before the body condition will be checked. If condition result into true, the body will execute. If condition results in the false, the body will not be executed. So there in while loop, it is not necessary that the action should be performed at least once, while in do while, action should be performed at least once. Okay, so these are some examples that we already have seen in the our while loop examples. This is the factorial to find out the factorial of n, factorial of any number. So we have three variable: number, factorial, and counter. Number is, remember that number is declared so that we may get input from the user. The number which user actually wants, the factorial of that number. And factorial is a variable in which we will save the result of each subproblem, and then those subproblems will be saved in a combined factorial variable. So this is actually used for the saving results in the in this variable, factorial variable. Counter is used to control our loop. Counter will actually initiate the loop from 1 till that number. This is the number, the number. So remember that counter will always start from 1, because factorial always start from multiplying 1 with 2 and 2 and then 3 and then with 4 and then the result with 5 and then results with the 6. So here in this case, we see counter begins with 1. This is the counter, here you can see, and it will be updated in increment until it becomes equal to the number which is given by the user. Okay, factorial is a variable which is involved in the multiplication. So therefore, remember that whenever a variable is involved in multiplication, so it should be initialized with 1. But if any, remember that if any variable involved in the summation or addition, so that variable must be initialized with a 0, so that no garbage value or no other logical error may be occur later on in the processing part. Now In the second statement, you can see we have prompt the message, this one, to the user, and in this third statement we are saving the input from the user into number variable number. Okay, these are the two variable initialized with 1. Okay, this can also be written factorial is equal to counter is equal to 1, so it's fine. Now this is the body of the do while loop. So we have started with do, then curly braces as per our previous explanation in our previous slide. Okay, and now we are going to multiply factorial with counter. Okay, so counter is now 1 and factorial in this case is also, in this iteration, is also 1. So 1 and 1. So what does this mean, the steric equal? It means that factorial is equal to factorial into counter. Okay, so factorial into counter both are equal to 1 and 1, so multiply 1 and 1 will equal to 1, so assign that one into factorial. This will be the first iteration. Then increment the counter, so counter is equal to 1, we all know that counter is equal to 1, so it will become 2 after execution of the increment operator, it will become 2. So now in the first iteration counter will become true. Now the execution of the body is completed and the condition will be checked. Condition. So before the condition and after curly braces you must write while and then the parenthesis, and in the parenthesis you can introduce the conditional expression or conditional statement, and then it should be terminated with the semicolon. Okay, so if condition becomes true, if condition becomes true, now in this case, in the condition, counter is, we know that counter is equal to 2 and number is equal to, for example, user has inputted the 5. Okay, so 2 is less than 5, yes. Is less than or equal to 5, yes. The condition become becomes true, so the body will again be executed. Okay, now factorial is equal to 1 into equal to factorial counter. So we know that factorial is 1 and counter was 2 in our first iteration. So 2 multiplied by 1 will be equal to 2 and that 2 will be assigned to factorial. So factorial in this case now has 2 value. Okay guys, and okay, so this will be the second iteration, and in second iteration counter will be updated from 2 to 3, and similarly these iteration will be performed unless and until this condition becomes false. So when this condition becomes false, the cout statement will be executed, because this statement is outside of the body of the while loop. Okay, this is the in factorial example. Let's see in the div C++. So do while statement, this is exactly that program which was in the slides. Here you can see that we have 3 variables and we are asking from the user to input the value and number, and factorial and counter are initialized with 1. So I'm sorry, this is actually the while loop. So let me correct it like this one. So there is no terminator in the while loop, but in do while loop you should terminate it. and write down the do statement here. So this is now okay. You can give a space, you can even give enter, so it does not affect the syntax of the programming. It's up to you. Okay, so in do, you can see now that the body will be executed at least once. So it will be executed, and the counter plus equal 1 is very similar to counter plus plus. So it's up to you whether you want to write it down like this one, the first option, this is the second option, and this one is the third option with you. So you can write it down in either option. Okay, so you are free now. So after execution of the first iteration of the do body, then the while loop, the condition will be checked after execution of the body. Okay, so this will be your first iteration, and similarly the second and third and fourth iterations will be performed. Unless the condition become false, the body will be executed. Otherwise, when it become false, so the body will not be executed, and execution will come to here line number 17, this one, to print the number which was inputted from the user and the factorial, which is the result of that number. So this is also one of the standard. You can write it down like there. You can see no cout, but this statement is actually this one. Now you can see. Okay, so just for the understanding comprehensibility purposes, I write it down here, so it may become part of the screen, so I can see the whole statement here in a small screen. Okay, so let's see, compile and run it, and want to see the factorial of 4. So factorial of 4 is 24. 1 multiplied by 2 is equal to 2. Then 2 multiplied by 3 is equal to 6. And then 6 multiplied by 4 is equal to 24. So this is the answer of the factorial. Basically, this is a calculator for the factorial of any number which gives the that number should be equal or less than the data type. Okay, then the data type, not the data type, yes, but the result should come within the maximum limit of the integer, because factorial has been defined as we have defined the factorial as integer, so the answer should be less than the maximum value of the integer data type. Okay, so let's see, the factorial of 10 is this value. Okay, so this was a very small example. Now let's see. Okay, before this I want to also share a very simple example with you. This one, here in this program I want to print out digits from 1 to 5. The one way to print the integer is cout I and write it down and L, and then okay, so okay, let's see, say 1 2 3 4 and 5, and make it post increment. I'm sorry, not. This is one way of printing values from 1 to 5 while using only single variable. This is a single variable. Okay, so if you do not write the do while loop or even while loop, yes, this can also be solved using while loop. Okay, so let's see. You can see here 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, but I have repeated multiple single statement multiple times. So this is what it actually redundancy is occurring in this statement. So a same statement you can see here has been copied and pasted another time, and this third time, and this one is the fourth time, and this is the fifth time. So this redundancy should not be introduced in your program while coding for program. Okay, so come back to the problem here of the do while solving it using do while loop. So now you can see, okay, just delete it, and you can paste it here, and now you can, okay, see it. We have just copied a single time, copy, okay, and paste it. So these are the 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines. 4 lines program where we can write multiple statement here as well. But using these 4 line in do while loop, we will execute this statement how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5 times, and this has already been controlled in the conditional statement here. So initially I will be equal to 1. Okay, just delete it to reduce the confusion. Okay, so initially I will be equal to 1, and that 1 will be printed out, and then the post increment will occur and executed. So I will become 2, and then 2 is less than or equal to 5. Yes, condition will become true, and this body will again executed. 2 will be printed, and 2 will increment into 3, and then 3 is less than or equal to 5. Yes, condition will become true, and the body will be executed. 3 plus plus will become 4. 4 is less than 5. Yes, and then 5 is less than or equal to 5. Yes, and then you will see that 5 will be printed here, and after printing 5 it will be updated to 6. I will be equal to 6. Even we can see it here, and we will check it later on. Okay, so 6 is less than 5 or equal to 5. No, so condition will become false. Okay, so this is our own logic to print the 1 2 5. So you can see here 1 2 3 4 5. So how can you see that I has been updated or incremented to 6? So you can check here. This is now the debugging process. See out. I'm going to see the value of I after post increment. Okay, so let me introduce some spaces so that we may identify on the screen. We cannot combine variable with the comments, the statement which we want to print it out on the screen, double quotes. So therefore it should be separately be coded. So let's see now, in each iteration we will see the pre-increment value and post-increment value. Now you can see 1, initially it was 1, then it was incremented to 2, then 2 was printed and it was incremented to 3, and then 3 was printed as per the condition, then it became 4, and 4 was checked in the condition, and then 4 was printed, and then 4 was incremented to 5, and 5 was checked in the condition and printed, and then post increment make 5 to the 6, and 6 was checked in the condition, but the condition become false. This condition becomes false. So therefore after 6 we cannot execute, the program cannot execute this body. So the execution jumped out of the do while loop, and return was executed, and the program becomes halt. Okay, So this is one of the example that in any case this body will execute at least once in any circumstances, okay, and then the condition will be checked. For the problem which we have coded, this whole program was to print the numbers from 1 to 5. Now it's very easy for you to write a program for odd numbers, or printing the odd numbers, or print the even numbers. It's so easy. So this was the hint for you. This is a programming hint, and then you can practice on the introducing the even or odd numbers while using the do while loop. Okay, so this is another example of the 2 power n, and we all know that 2 power n means, for example, that n times multiply 2. So if we replace n with 4, so it means multiply this 2 4 times. 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, and that will be the answer of this mathematical formula. So we need a number n, that is a power, a result which should be saved, and the counter which through which we will control our loop. And these are the statements to input the user value. Result is part of the multiplication, so it should be always equal to 1 initialized by 1. This is the counter, so counter is now 1. Initially it is 1, and then this one will be updated iteratively unless and until it reaches to the power, the value of power, okay, or it become maximum than the power value. So when it become maximum than the power value, then the condition will become false, and the do while statement will stop, and execution of the next statement will be performed. Let's see another example. This is the maximum and minimum value. To find out the maximum and minimum value, this is the do while loop. These are the two values. Initially our maximum value is 0, while this is the value variable identifier, in which we will save the value from the user. So first the body will be performed, and then we will check the condition. So we are asking first the user to input value. A user will input the value in value variable, and then if condition is part of the do while body. So if the user inputted value is maximum than is larger than the maximum value, and now in this case 0 is the maximum, okay, has value 0, max has value 0. And if user input value 4, for example, in this statement, so the condition will check if 4 is greater than 0. Yes, this will becomes true, and this operation will perform then. So this is single line if statement. So the value in value variable here is 4, which will be assigned to maximum variable. So before it was 0, the maximum was 0, now it is replaced with 4, okay. So the 4 will in then value is not equal to -1. In condition you can see here in this you can see that value is not equal to -1. So if user now in this case user has inputted the -4 value, +4 value of the value. So 4 is not equal to -1. Yes, 4 is not equal to -1, so it becomes true. So the body will again be executed. Okay, so this loop will terminate when user input -1. Okay, so -1 is not equal to -1. No, -1 is equal to -1. So in that case it will become false. Okay, so the statement which will execute is see out the maximum value found is max. Okay, and this statement is actually outside of the body of do while loop. This is another example. We will see it in the div C++. This is waiting for a reply. Okay, this is a very small example. Character reply. Okay, so first perform the task. Okay, this is a very similar example in with the gaming applications. When you start a game, so then those games never ask you in the start that whether you want to start the game or not, yeah, resume the game or restart the game or not. In the first option, you do it. Okay, you do the game, and when the game finishes, then the system asks you that whether you want to play it again. Okay, so uh, condition occurs at the end of the game. So if you agree that okay, we want to or I want to play it again, so the condition will become true and the body will again execute. It means the game will again be initiated from the start. So this is very similar to the concept of the gaming, even if it is in the physical life, or it's in the virtual life where we use the smart devices. So first execute the body of the do while loop, which is continue, perform some task, perform the game. If you are defeated by someone or you have won the game, even in both the cases, the program will ask continue with yes or no, C in the reply. So reply will be the answer, the user input will be saved in the reply, and that will be checked in the condition. So if you give small y, so small y is not equal to n, yes, it will become true and you will be able to operate or execute the body of the do while again. But if the user enter n, small n, so here in condition we have written small n is not equal to n. This statement is false because n is equal to n. So it means that condition will become false and the execution will come outside of the do while loop. So this was a very small example. Here and let's see in the div C++, there are some other example with do while loop. We have seen the do while with for factorial, do while for the maximum. We can just put it, okay, just put it at the end of the and introduce the semicolon. Remember, semicolon in the do while loop you should introduce a semicolon, and this is the do portion. Okay, so there is no big deal to code for the using do while loop. It's very simple, just like while loop. And here the difference is just introducing the do, which is a reserve, and then the body, and then at the end you should introduce the while loop with a terminator. Okay, so this is the difference between the while loop and do while loop. The rest operation is very simple. Inputting from the user and then check the condition. If the user input value is maximum, then this one, then save it into the maximum. Okay, and if condition becomes true, again execute. So in second iteration, previously the maximum value may be changed. So if the second input is greater than the previous value of the maximum value, not previous, the current value of maximum, then that value, the condition will become true and the value will assign to maximum, and so on and so forth. This iteration, these iteration will perform unless the while is until the while condition is true. Okay, but if it falls, the condition falls, so we will not be able to see the results of this body. Okay, it means that this body will not be executed. This statement is outside of the do while loop. So let's see. Enter a positive integer. Okay, 6 7 0 4 minus 8. Even we can give minus 8 because we haven't declared unsigned integer, so we can give the message is enter a positive number, positive integer, but actually there in the coding we haven't controlled the input. Okay, so user can now easily give the negative value as well. Anyhow, 6 2 5 and 3. So the maximum value out of this series you can see here is 7. So 7 should be declared as maximum, while we want to terminate program, so need to give input as -1. Now you can see the maximum value is 7. Okay, this is also one of the logic that how can we find maximum value of a set of values. Okay, so if you have a set of values, so then you can just program like this one and you can find easily the maximum value out of that set of values. Okay, so another program is the power 2 power n. So here you can see this program is being coded for the 2 power n. We have different variables and input from the user, and result encounter or initialized with 1, and this is the do while loop. Okay, do while loop, so it performs the result multiply 2 with 2 in each iteration. It performs 2 with 2, but how many times? The times actually which user has inputted here. Okay, and this is being controlled here in this condition statement in while loop. So let's check it. I want to multiply 2 9 times, so this is the answer. Okay, now I want to multiply 2 6 times, so 64 is the answer to this question. So this is basically a calculator to find out the 2 power n. 2 power n, yes. So it's a small software, it's a small project, you can say, a calculator that finds the 2 power n answer. Okay guys, so this was the do while loop here. Remember that the while and do while loops are both executes the statements multiple times. It repeats the execution of statement multiple. It has the facility, and the main difference between while and do while loop is, in do while loop it is must that the body will execute at least one time, and that will be in first iteration. Okay, and that will be in first iteration of the do while loop. While and after that, while the condition will be checked. While in do while loop, sorry, in while loop, the first the condition will be checked, and then the body will be executed. So if the condition become false, so the body will never be executed. Okay, so this is the main difference between do and while loop and do while loop. Okay, thank you so much for listening the lecture. Okay, so let me finish it. Discard the changes, and I'm sorry.